Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning, and welcome to Bumper to Bumper Radio. I am Dave Riccio. Here alongside me is Matt Allen, and we are here to help you with your car every Saturday from 11 to noon on 92.3 KTAR. At Bumper to Bumper Radio, we are helping you, the motoring public, have a better overall car experience. If you've got car questions, we've got answers, so we encourage you to give us a call at 602-277-5827. 602-277-KTAR. If you're shy, we'll let you get away with sending us a text at 411-923. Today on the Bumper to Bumper Roadmap, fact or fiction about your vehicle. As always, we're taking your texts and phone calls in new fuel-efficient technologies, and one of the things we're always talking about on this show is how the rules have changed when it comes to your car. What worked 10 years ago doesn't work now, and what are some of the reasons this is happening?
Well, Dave, I mean, the rules are definitely changing, and part of it is self-inflicted. We as consumers want better fuel mileage. We want more horsepower. We don't want to pay for it with fuel mileage necessary. The government wants us to have better fuel mileage, better CAFE ratings, or the manufacturers have better CAFE ratings, not be burning up all these fossil fuels and stuff. But so that's really the push, is the manufacturers are being pushed by both the government and the consumers need. But I don't think in the U.S. we don't want to give up our horsepower, though.
Well, yeah, and the race is on because of these, because of the demand from the consumer for better fuel economy, and also the demands from the government for better fuel economy. The race is on, and everybody's coming out with their new highfalutin technologies that's supposed to save you money and gas mileage and give you all the power in the world. And you know what? I believe it's starting to work. Well, it's really starting to work.
Yeah, it's starting to work. And, the race is on. I think the race has already run. And we saw an example of that yesterday. Dave and I were invited to participate in the Ford EcoBoost Challenge yesterday. I didn't know what the heck I was expecting going out there. We get a phone call, and they want the car guys out to take a look. And what EcoBoost is, what's Ford's done, they've taken a lot of this new technology, things like direct fuel injection, turbocharging, which is not new, been around forever, variable valve timing, which is
relatively
new, and they've combined this, and that's their EcoBoost. And what EcoBoost is, it's the combination of all these technologies into Ford's patented program and technologies, and you get out of these Ford engines everything you want: the power, the economy, the
consumers saying, what the heck is direct injection? What the heck is turbocharging? And what the heck is variable valve timing? So let's break those down, because I've seen all of them by themselves on different vehicles. Direct injection has probably been one of the most effective things at making the car more efficient and powerful. And instead of running the injection through the intake, we just drop it right on top of that piston.
Yeah, we're putting extremely high pressure fuel directly right into the cylinder, right where the combustion's happening, so the fuel can get. I mean, there's a whole lot of information behind this technology. We're just going to touch on a little bit, but the fuel is under very high pressure, goes right into the cylinder. It atomizes well. So it burns more efficient and when it's supposed to, and it is right there, right on time, right when they want the fuel. So that's the direct injection.
That's direct injection. Now, turbocharge, that's something you only ever saw in a performance car. Some performance car might be supercharged. That's one way of doing it. Some cars might be turbocharged. So what is that? That's like jamming twice as much in a small hole with
Yeah. So with the turbocharging, you see them on an old tractor or diesel trucks. And you're right, Dave. It was always thought of in a sports car, thinking, it's got to be a Porsche, it's got a turbocharger, or name your hot rod, but that's not the case. Look in Europe, they're using turbochargers and have been for years, but it's just the way that the exhaust drives a turbine, and that's the exhaust flow, coming out the tailpipe, coming out of the engine. The exhaust the pressure is going to turn the turbine, which then is going to force on the other side. It's going to pressurize the air that's entering the engine. So normally, you've got your vacuum cleaner to the engine just sucking that air in, because that's what it does. It's a pump. Well, now you're just jamming it in there.
We're force-feeding it. You will eat this.
Yes, and you will like it. So we're pouring that in, and we're pouring the fuel in, and these cars are making some serious ponies or horsepower.
So EcoBoost, they've done the direct injection, and they said, hey, we're going to turbocharge it. And then the other thing is
one more. Then what Ford's done is they've combined all three of these, and that's where you get the EcoBoost, is the variable valve timing. And variable valve timing, again, goes back to the hot rod days. Maybe your car came stock and you wanted to just advance that camshaft timing just a little bit, so you could go buy a new cam gear where the bolts that bolted up were slotted a little bit, or buy this new billet fancy deal that you can change it this or change it that. Well, variable valve timing, it's using the electronics and the oil pressure of the engine to control the valve opening and closing time, the duration, and again, you make that power exactly where you want, when you want it to happen. You can control emissions with it.
So, but before it was variable, you were married to, hey, this motor's going to make top torque and top horsepower at these ranges.
Yes.
Because that cam was only cut and made one way, and you could change cams to change that torque band, but you were married to it, and now we can move it, just depending on the needs of the foot and the driver.
Unlimited. I mean, the computer's looking at load on the engine, volume of air entering the engine, your position on the throttle. There's hundreds of inputs of information, and they've got this mapped out. So that horsepower and that power is there when you need it right now.
Well, what's amazing, and we'll talk about this this challenge that we went to yesterday, but they said, okay, direct injection, great thing. Turbocharged, we can actually turn down the size of the motor and get the same power, if not even more, with a smaller motor that eats less fuel. And then we got the variable valve timing, and what they're able to do is with turbochargers, there was turbo lag, and they had some things that just were not that exciting.
We didn't make them very drivable. You really knew when you were driving the turbo.
Something with a turbo, it would spool up, and woo, there we go. But now they can make 80% of the horsepower this thing produces just off of idle by using these three technologies. So,
well, yeah, and what we started with yesterday, driving the F-150 with the EcoBoost, the brand new Ford F-150 EcoBoost, and then we drove the Silverado. Well, you drove first. I drove second, and I'll tell you what, driving the Silverado and then driving the EcoBoost Ford, right now, I mean, you go to accelerate, the weight of the truck, it's a bigger, we're talking trucks, not little cars right now. So a big truck like an F-150, that thing got up and moved, and I think it was 90% of the torque was delivered at only 1,900 RPMs.
And you had the full boat by 2,500 RPMs. Well, let's tell them about it, because they don't have to listen about it from us. I mean, we're going to tell you about it, but they can also go do this themselves. Out at University of Phoenix Stadium, Ford has this EcoBoost Challenge thing set up. So you can go out there and you can test drive all these cars. So what they had lined up is they had the trucks. So we drove a Chevy, and then immediately after that we drove a Ford. And that way we could get a real quick comparison. Because you could drive one car at one lot. By the time you go grab lunch and go to the next lot, you kind of forget what it was like.
Exactly.
But this was like, I got right out of the Chevy and I got in the Ford. And then we did that as a trucks. And the next thing we did was we drove the Ford Escape, which right now apparently is the best-selling compact SUV. That's what they said.
First quarter 2014, number one selling SUV. And I see why. You drive that thing. Again, it's nice and smooth. Mm-hmm. But what I like, I'm a heavy foot. When you romp on the gas, bye-bye.
Well, it's funny because we're test driving these cars, and I get in the Chevy, and I'm not in my own car, so I'm being nice about it, and I'm driving it nice. And then we switch drivers, and Matt jumps in the driver's seat.
I don't hold anything back.
He drove the car like it was stolen, and so I'm like, well, no one seems to mind. So then I got behind the wheel, and I'm like, man, I'm gonna flog this thing.
Well, to me, again, Dave, we talk about the power, talk about how well the car runs and the performance, but the beauty of it is, you don't expect that you're going to get the fuel economy. It's usually give up one thing. There's three things you want. You only get two.
Well, I've heard these commercials. They call them the fuel sipping. They barely taking sips of fuel. But that F-150, I was impressed. But then we drove a CR-V and the Escape, and then the other one we did was the Ford Fusion sedan, and then we did the Toyota Camry. And so it was a great time, and if you guys are interested in that, you can go out to University of Phoenix Stadium. I think they're out there till 6 o'clock today. And when we come back, they let us race around the track in these little cars, and you'll find out who won between Matt and I, and although I think it was a little bit rigged. When we come back, we're taking your phone calls at 602-277-5827. 602-277-KTAR. You're listening to Matt and Dave on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Well, welcome back to Bumper Radio. I'm Matt Allen here along with Dave Riccio, And we are here every Saturday morning, as usual, talking to you about your car, about cars in general. So if you have a car question, car problem, maybe you're thinking about buying a new car and are wondering our opinion of that car, you can give us a call, 602-277-5827, 602-277-KTAR. And, of course, you can text as long as you're not out there driving around and you want to send in a text if you're a little shy. Get us at 411-923. And, again, questions, comments, anything there. So Dave and I were talking a little bit about the Ford EcoBoost Challenge, which we got to participate in out yesterday at the University of Phoenix Stadium. Still happening today, I believe, till 6 o'clock, right, Dave?
Till 6 o'clock. Go out and drive these cars.
Yeah, a lot of fun. And the last thing that we didn't get to in the last segment is they give us the Ford Fiesta. I think it's got a little 1.1 liter, 1.3 liter Ecotec engine. So it's got the direct injection, the turbocharger, and the variable valve timing. And I know you're thinking the Ford Fiesta. Man, what a hot rod that thing was. They set us up on the autocross course. And again, this is the consumers. You can go out there and do this. So they have a timed course, and you really get to feel the performance out of this car, the braking. I don't think the fuel economy was so good the way we were driving yesterday.
No.
Because we're really wrapping them up. So Dave thinks it was rigged a little bit, but I when we went to Bondurant last time, I'm pretty sure I put schooling on you then too, didn't I?
You got me. But Matt came in at 35.115 seconds through the course, and I came in at 35.632 seconds through the course. But, Matt was pushing a little harder. He hit a few cones. I felt like I was driving somebody else's car. I didn't want to be too hard on it. But those times are posted on our Facebook page, so you can go to bumpertobumperradio.com, hit our Facebook link, and you can find those. And, hey, we challenge you to go out and beat those times. So we're gonna throw out Matt's because I think it's rigged.
Dave if you can beat Dave, he'll buy you a Big Mac.
35.632, and it really was a lot of fun. They give you a little bit of instruction, brake here, turn here, But I didn't you hit a cone in the course. Mm-hmm.
That was not on my fast lap, Dave. That was on my slow lap, and it was only one. So
I didn't hit any cones. So. Up first this segment, we're going to go with Mark in Scottsdale on a 2006 Toyota Corolla. Go ahead, Mark. You are on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Yes, thanks. Now, the car is rarely driven, maybe once every 2 weeks, and I had a brand-new tire on it, and this is the second time it's happened. I had no more than 10,000 miles on it, and the whole thing peeled off on me, and it did like $1,500 worth of damage on the side of my car. And the one prior to that, same brand, did about $800 worth of damage. Is that normal?
Well, no, it's not. Sorry, Dave, I cut you off there. But which tire, not what brand, but what position on the car is it, and then how old is the tire?
Well, they were both in the rear, and one of the tires was there since about 2010, but I bought the tire about 5 years before. I just let it sit in the garage.
Right. Well, there's a couple things going on, and I did spend my early years working in a tire shop. And one of the things, I'm going to go over some things that everyone can benefit from. Tires have a shelf life of 5 years, and you can run them longer than that by all means. But at that point, you're starting to get into the zone where we might have the thing come apart. So that's one thing to keep in mind. The other thing is that, you're able to turn that, you had the car damaged from the tread coming off, it sounds like to me. So if it threw some tread, turn it into your insurance company. That is a big repair. And the one thing that's cool about insurance companies is that they actually log all this information, what kind of tire it was, what the circumstances were. And for them, it goes into their database. And when they can see a problem, like they did with the Ford Explorers back in the day, with those things rolling over, that's the insurance companies are what said, hey, we got a problem here because this has happened on all these Ford Explorers.
But it ended up being the tire that was the problem, not necessarily the Ford Explorer.
Correct. So they were, the treads were coming off. The other thing that can happen is people will run around with tires with a slow leak or low air in them. And what that does, you need that tire full of air so it doesn't create heat in the tire. Okay? So if it's low on air, you're going to build up heat in the sidewall of the tire. and a tire will fail prematurely. So in the tire business, when people came in and they had a tire where the tread came off, and they'd say, hey, this tire's a XYZ Acme tire, and the side of my car is all damaged, and you people owe me money. Well, we'd go take the tire apart, and we'd find a nail hole in a nail that's been there for a while. So they've been running the tire low, and you only got to run them low, 5-10 pounds for any length of time, and that will happen. So as consumers, you got to make sure. I mean, now we've got tire monitoring lights, but don't ignore that light for a long time like I do.
Well, exactly. And I want to go back to the beginning there. He said the tire was on about 2010.
But it was 5
had
years
about
old.
5 years before that. We're 2014 now. So that tire at its youngest is 8 to 9 years old. I don't know why you bought a tire 5 years ago and let it sit in the garage, but maybe it was already 3 years. So now we're talking, maybe if it was 3 years old before that, now we're talking somewhere between an 11 and 13-year-old tire, depending on how you slice it up. And it's important. You can go look at the sidewall of the tire, and there's a DOT number, and it will have an ending. For example, if the car was made the fourth week of 2014, it's going to be 0414. Again, that's the fourth week of 2014. So if you're buying your tires somewhere, you want to make sure you're not getting a tire that's already 2 or 3 years old. You want newer
good
inventory.
stock that's rotated. So the new stuff. That is a great question mark and something I think everybody can benefit from. I noticed you were in Scottsdale, so if you do need a good shop that does tires and alignments, you're right down the street from Whitey's Auto Repair. Great shop in Scottsdale. North end of Scottsdale, we've got Air Park Auto Service. See Aaron out there. And we are going to go with, looks like Star in Avondale on a Sentra that she wants to buy. Go ahead.
Hi, it's actually Sienna.
Sienna.
And I was wondering, I'm thinking of the newer Siennas, and there is the L series and the LE series and the XL series. Something. What is the difference other than the leather seats and the little bit of difference of the body?
Well, I think on most cars, and I can't specifically say the Sienna for sure, but the acronym at the end, the LX, EX, LXI, Super Duper, whatever it is, that's pretty much going to dictate the trim level.
Trim or the option package, another way to look at that.
Yeah, the options. So you'll have maybe the LX, for example, doesn't have leather, but it's got the basic engine and cloth seats and some of the other features, nice stereo or something. That might be the LX. You go to the EX model, and that one's going to have, maybe it's got the bigger engine, the 3.5 liter or whatever it is, and then it will have leather. And then by virtue of getting leather, then you probably get the navigation, and you get the you get the moonroof. So there's a lot of different options there that you'll be able to notice.
For sure. When we come back, we've got open lines at 602-277-5827, 602-277-KTAR. You can also text us at 411-923 and get us at bumpertobumperradio.com. We'll be right back. Well, welcome back to Bumper to Bumper Radio. I am Dave Riccio, here along with Matt Allen, and we are here helping you with your car every Saturday from 11 to noon. We want you to have a better overall car experience. To get a hold of us, 602-277-5827, 602-277-KTAR. And I will mention that we've got a new lady working the boards. We are going to miss Peter, but he's changing shifts. So we've had a long relationship with Peter, and Peter helped us learn the ropes. But we've got Brianna. So if you guys are calling, she's new screening phones today. So all she needs to know is what your name is, what part of town you're in, and what you drive, and we'll take it from there. And be friendly, because she's got a lot on her plate, being her first day. But she says she's ready for the challenge. So 602-277-5827, 602-277-KTAR, and you can text us at 411-923, Matt. And you said you wanted to go back and talk about that last phone call in regard to option packages, and that was Star who called. It was looking at buying a new Sienna.
Yeah, I'm working here. I don't have my headphones turned up very loud.
Thinks he can beat me on the racetrack. He can't even work the microphone.
All right. I guess my only point with that is on this Sienna or any other car, you just look at all the different option packages, and they're going to be packaged in a way where sometimes you just get with what they got. When you get leather, you get the sunroof. When you get leather, maybe you get the nav. I like the loaded car. If you're going to spend the money, get everything. But I think the other thing that I wish I would have done when I bought my last new car is actually went out and drove it and did more of just the regular test drive. If you're buying a Sienna minivan, I'm guessing maybe you've got kids, maybe you've got car seats. Maybe there's 3 or 4 of those things, booster seats happening. You've got the family. Take the whole family to the car dealership. Be like the Griswolds.
Load them up.
Show up. Tell that salesman you're either going with us or you can stay here, but we're going for a drive. We're going to buckle the car seats in and get the kids where they want to sit and make sure all that stuff fits, because I didn't do that and my car seats don't fit in the car now. And it's a disaster sometimes.
It's a mess. And I noticed that Ford is really bringing back the van because they got the Traverse. The Traverse was kind of a cargo van, so the door's been tested. Is it a Traverse? Am I saying that wrong? That
Transit.
Ford Transit. That's the word I was looking for. It was kind of a commercial vehicle, so the door's been tested 55,000 times open and closed. So it's built to last, but now they're putting in nice seats and windows and sunroofs and all that stuff. So that's another possibility out there on the market for you. So you might check that out. And they've got that down there at the EcoBoost Challenge.
I was talking to my wife Edith about that Traverse. I said Traverse now. We got this thing. This thing is all slaughtered, Dave. The Transit.
The Transit.
And I thought, because she hates driving our Excursion. And maybe sometimes because she doesn't know which one is ours.
But
I said, this might be an option. This is 7 passengers. It doesn't have the room to load everything up like we sometimes need to do. But for zipping around town, I thought that was a pretty neat vehicle. I don't know if we'll get into my story of Thursday night yet.
It is pretty funny. I don't know if Edith will appreciate me sharing that story. So let's get to the phones. We are going to go with Doug. Nope, sorry, I'm not going to go with Doug. I'm going to go with Dennis in Phoenix on a Dodge Ram. Go ahead, Dennis. You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Yeah, hey, guys. I'm in the process of buying a quarter-ton pickup. And I went to that EcoBoost Challenge Ford had, and to test drive and see, because I figured that was a good way to do it. And they didn't have any Dodge Ram 1500s there. And I know Dodge just changed everything. They went from leaf springs to coil springs and everything. What is your take on that stuff?
I haven't driven the Dodge to really know or really give a good opinion, but I know, if they went to coil springs over leaves, I bet you it's got a lot more plush ride than it used to. I went to a mountain bike race with a guy who just is in a 2014 Dodge. I mean, he loves it. He says, man, thing runs like a scolded dog, because I don't have a new term for that. It runs really good. But, the Ford, I was impressed. He drove the Ford. He drove the Dodge. Maybe it's a personal preference thing.
That's what I was about to say. It's just a matter of personal preference. Just get out and drive all 3 of them. And I think the reason they didn't have the Dodge there is they picked the class leaders. So Silverado and the F-150 have been the class leaders. So they're not really competing against 3rd or 4th place.
Which car do you think smelled better, the Ford or the Chevy?
The Ford.
The Ford did smell better.
It had a different smell. Maybe because you were in the Chevy first and left a little bit of funk behind or something. I don't know.
So yeah, that's going to be personal preference. You don't buy a car every day, so a knee-jerk purchase is generally not a good one. Go test it out. Like Matt said, if you're looking for a minivan, go load up the kids, throw them all in there, and see if it's really going to work. Because you hate to one time a buddy of mine bought a car from the fleet department that he didn't see, bought it, and he's driving away from the lot, and he says, "Oh man, this thing doesn't have cruise control."
Oopsie daisy.
A car without, it was a late model car. A car without cruise control, I'd be ticked.
Yes.
So anyway, we are going to go to Doug in Glendale on a 2007 Dodge Ram. Go ahead, Doug. You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Afternoon, gents. How you doing?
Fantastic. What can we do for you today?
Anyway, don't have a lot of minutes left on my phone, so I'm just going to ask my question and then hang up and listen if you don't mind.
You bet.
Anyway, bought a 2007 Dodge Ram probably about 4 years ago. Had very low mileage on it. Got a pretty good deal. Been very happy with the truck since then, but recently the air conditioning's starting to blow a little bit warm. I was at an AutoZone the other day. A really nice gentleman was helping me out, and he suggested there was, I don't know, this can of something that he's like super cool or something, he said. And all I had to do was hook it up and spray this stuff in there. It would seal any leaks that I had in the system and then recharge it, and it should work just great. As long as the system was working, he said that this stuff would work, and it was fantastic. And I'm hesitant about anything that you just pour into something.
Well, I am
problem.
Am
I right or wrong?
I am holding Matt back right now, just holding him back because he can't wait to say something about additives. Go ahead, Matt. What do you think?
Well, no, the key thing that he said right towards the end is if the system is working right, this stuff will work. Mm-hmm. Well, that's why you're there. It's not working right. And secondly, you really don't know yet if the air conditioning is working right or not. That air conditioning may be working just fine. Your problem could be your heater. And the reason I say that is the Dodge trucks have had a problem with the blend door. So when you turn your air conditioning, whether it's you dial it into 76 degrees or you turn the dial where it's a little bit of red and a lot of blue or all blue or whatever the combination is to achieve your temperature, it doesn't cycle the air conditioning necessarily to achieve that temperature like your house would. It's going to run it and then it's going to shut it off. Your car's air conditioner is running all the time. And so it's going to accomplish the temperature inside the cab by moving some heat from the heater into the cab and blending that air. So what you may find on your Dodge truck is that the blend door is not working and the air conditioner itself is working just fine. It can make cold air. It's capable of producing the cold air. You're just not getting the right blend of air. So that's the first thing I would check before you go start putting miracle sauce into the system. Because the second thing you might find is if a shop finds out that that's in there, they may not work on your air conditioner.
Miracle sauce.
Yeah.
I call it mechanic in a can. Not miracle sauce.
Miracle juice, whatever it is. Just the snake oil. Who knows?
How do they get all those little ASC technicians into that bottle? It's amazing to me.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go to the text. That's a great question, Doug, and it's something everybody can deal with. Is there something that'll fix everything?
No.
You look like you want to say something, but I think we should get to the text.
You can get to the text.
All right. Let me see. Let me see what we got. We've got one here. Gentleman has. First one. We can take this one right away. Hi, guys. We're in Mesa. Where's a good place to get a quote on a leaking valve cover? Thanks, Bob. Bob, we've got a couple good shops in Mesa. We got Mesa Auto Works. We had those guys on with us last week. Good family-run operation. They've been in business 20 years, and Stan Sr. has been in the industry for a long, long time. Before I was born, that's for sure. So we've also got Accurate Automotive is another good choice. You can find those guys at bumpertobumperradio.com. There's a list of great shops. Maybe you live in Mesa, work in a different part of town. If you go to that website, you find that too. So what's closer to work or closer to home? Also, I've got a text here, how to install Zerk fittings on my 2002 7.3 F-250 in the drive shaft. Let's see, drive shaft to grease pack it. And that's he's driving, obviously. Don't text and drive. Not good. It's hard for me to read.
That autocorrect. You take Dave's reading skills along with autocorrect, and we're in big trouble.
Big trouble. And not only that, when I'm reading, the screen refreshes on me all the time, so it moves. It's like, it's tricking me. And Matt and I were talking this during the break as we read this text. Grease zerks have disappeared from cars, and especially from U-joints. And I find the factory U-joint has no grease zerk. A U-joint without a grease zerk is technically stronger than a U-joint with a grease zerk, because what they have to do to get that grease out to all the caps is they have to put a nice hollow port down the center to get the grease out to the caps. So they eliminated those for strength, and I'm finding more and more, even the drive shaft shops are going to the non-greasable U-joints. It feels like I can't maintain it, and something doesn't feel right about that, but it is a better thing.
Yeah, and if it's making noise or something, you don't need to grease it. You need to replace it. And I don't know if part of this was born the Japanese cars, Hondas and Toyotas, you never would see grease or Zerk fittings on the front end of those. And now the American cars are going that way too. But the other problem that people have is, you're at the lube shop, and it's a little bit of the case of a little is good, so it's a lot is better. If you're doing that, your own maintenance at home, you don't want to pump a bunch of grease into the fittings, whether it's the ball joint, the drive shaft, the tie rod end, whatever the case is. Just pump it just enough to see that belt swell just slightly, and that's going to be plenty of grease. Because otherwise, then what happens? You break the boot, the grease is gooing and hanging out of there,
and dust
and
is
now
getting in there.
the dirt starts to attract and get stuck in there. So
Bend over and I'll show you.
Oh, that's not what I wanted. It's time for Fact or Fiction. Was what I was going for, but apparently I'm not very good with the dials. Fact or Fiction for the day is that I can use walnuts to clean my fuel system in my car. Fact or Fiction? Matt looks confused already.
you're confusing
You
me
can't
today.
chew gum and get on the air,
I
man.
know,
Swallow that thing.
I was thinking about that too. I just over here like chomping away. So what is it again? Fact or Fiction? You can use walnuts.
Walnuts
Yeah.
to clean your fuel system.
So what you do is you go to Costco and they have walnuts for baking, and you grind them all up, and then pour. No, you don't want to do that. Walnuts, yes. Cars have problems with carbon buildup in the engine.
And this is a newer problem with this direct injection we're talking about.
It is a byproduct of that, but still, we've had carbon buildups problems forever. And I believe BMW was one of the first ones to start doing this, using walnuts. And what they're doing is they're using walnut shells. So it's just a material that's not going to cause damage to the engine. And you pull the intake manifold off of the car. Instead of using a sandblaster, the media that we're using is walnut shells, ground up walnut shells. And you blast that into the engine to remove carbon from the valves. And then when it gets pumped through the engine, unlike sand, it's not going to destroy everything. So that's fact.
That's a fact. You guys from Virginia Auto Service are so smart.
Yeah.
Well, when we come back, we've got Ron and Joey, and maybe time for another phone call at 602-277-5827. You're listening to Matt and Dave on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Welcome back to Bumper Radio. I'm Matt Allen. This other guy is Dave Riccio. And again, we're here every Saturday from 11 to noon helping you with your car. A lot of things we've been talking about today. The Ford EcoBoost Challenge, which you can still go participate in out at University of Phoenix Stadium. New technologies in cars, direct injection, turbocharging, variable valve timing, using walnuts to clean your fuel injection system. Not the fuel injection, but the engine. So a lot of car stuff going on. And Dave, I know you were smiling a little bit this morning. We were talking when we got here, and you were all jazzed up about a little baseball game you had going on last night. Were you at the D-backs or what?
Yeah.
Actually, it was the D-backs,
The
right?
junior D-backs. My son is 9 years old, and he loves baseball. He loves football. He just loves sports. I like sports, but not as much as my son. You know, he wakes up, Saturday morning, watches college football all day, goes to bed, wakes up, watches NFL all day long Sunday, and that's how he spends his weekend. But he loves baseball, and he's wanted to pitch for the longest time. And every now and then he gets nervous about pressure and stuff like that. And so he got his first chance to pitch last night, and he went out there, and he was super nervous, and I was more nervous than him.
Stage fright?
Yeah. But he went in there, smooth, good rhythm, struck the first guy out. And I was like, yes. Inside, I was like, happy. And then he struck the second guy out. And I was like, oh, my goodness. Good job, boy. And then he walked the third guy. He was out there down on himself a little bit, but he came back and struck out the third guy. Man, I was so proud. I took him out to Grimaldi's last night for a little celebration, but it was a good time.
Very
Love
good.
baseball. And
Now, do you? I used to be a yeller.
yeah.
At the kids' sports, I stopped now. But, at first I was all excited and riled up and like, all right. And I was like, okay, after a couple years, okay, I got to mellow out a little bit. I don't want everybody looking at me.
Right. I had to tune that down because apparently I can yell pretty loud. And
Yeah.
I can run over a 9-year-old pretty easy if I'm not careful. So I got to remember to be positive, be positive. We are going to go with Ron in Phoenix on a 2005 Toyota Sienna, not Sentra. Go ahead, Ron. You're on Bumper to Bumper Radio.
Yeah, hi. My problem is the Sienna doesn't coast like it used to. I had a flush in December by Toyota. The oil's been changed every 30,000 miles. There's only 80,000 miles on there now. What I'm noticing is that when you're coming to a stop, say maybe a block away or half a block, you take your foot off the gas. She wants to drop down in third gear. and then it goes back to fourth, then back to third. So if I shift it manually to third, and then let ride in third gear for a minute, second, and go back to the fourth gear, everything is all right.
The so you're letting off the gas, and it's not coasting. It just feels like it's slowing down on its own quicker than it should.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a late enough model that it probably ought to have what we call a relearn. And if you notice, you've been driving this car for a number of years, something is different. That's where it would be worth taking a look, because the vehicle could be engine braking when it didn't used to. So maybe, it should be a 4 or 5 speed automatic transmission. Maybe it's a gear lower than it used to be. That's all. The transmission shifts how and when it's told to. And there's a computer that operates all that. So a lot of times we see software in these computers get corrupted over time, and it needs to be reprogrammed or refreshed. So at Tri-City Transmission, we're actually updating software to get them to work the way they should work, because they've gotten corrupt over time. You look confused.
Well, no, there could be that. It could be a number of different things. But like you said, if it's physically downshifting the engine, it's not because the tire pressures have 10 pounds of pressure in them. It's not because it's got the wrong tires, or there's a bag wound up in the drive shaft, or just something crazy. The computer's telling it to do something. So the computer's either got its wires crossed, in its head is all screwy, or there's an input that's giving bad information to the computer. You could have a throttle position sensor reading wrong, and that could change the gear you're in. You could have a speed sensor reading wrong. That could change your gear that you're in. So there's a whole lot of factors that go into that computer to tell the transmission how and when to shift, and even the engine how to run. So we could have an engine issue going on here where it's engine braking where it didn't used to. So it looks like some diagnostic work is going to be done. That would bother me. Something needs to be done. Speaking of, we were talking about doing the little cars on the track and driving the deal yesterday. Tonight on Central, if you like cars and you want to get out, tonight is the Cruise on Central. And you'd be amazed at what kind of cars and hot rods and classics and import cars. I mean, you see people out there, and it's just cruising up and down Central. And you have anywhere from your 16-year-old kids in their car all the way up to senior citizens driving their old classic that they've restored. You see people that drive their cars or haul their cars out there on trailers just to then cruise up and down Central. And the police are very cooperative. They get people out there ripping burnouts down Central Avenue. You won't see that much any other time of year except for doing Cruise on Central. So if you like cars and hot rods and you want to go check that out, I know I'm going out there a little bit later this afternoon and around Park Central Mall. Really neat.
For sure.
Just a spectacle, if you will, to go see.
We got Jeff and Joey on the line still. We're not going to be able to get you during the show, but we're going to take it after the show, and I'm going to address one of these texts real quick if I can. 2000 Mercedes-Benz E320 sedan, and the AC sometimes will take up to 20 minutes before it blows cold. Then sometimes it blows cold right out of the gate for a few minutes, then warms up, and takes a long time to blow cold again. Can you help? That sounds like a fun one. What are you thinking?
Well, on that one, I mean, it says there's no codes in the system, but I don't know. I'm assuming you're talking about the air conditioning control module, if someone's got the right scan tool to go in there and check. But I do know on the Mercedes, if they get low on charge, the computer will shut them down. We had one just the other day that we serviced. We brought the charge level back up, but it still wouldn't engage. We had to go back in and clear the codes from the system and get everything relearned. So on an air conditioner, the most important thing to do is start by making sure that you've got the proper charge level in the system. If the air conditioner is not fully charged and charged properly, it can't work right. So you've got to start from there. I mean, we could be low 2 ounces, we could be overcharged 2 ounces, and we're going to influence how that system is going to perform. So first and foremost, start there, and then once it's got a good charge level in it, then it's just a matter of going through and making sure the right switches and sensors and inputs and outputs and everything is working, and will make you cold air.
Well, we appreciate you joining us, and thanks, Brianna. Did a great job for the first day on the show, and thanks, Peter, for giving her some good instruction. I think she did well screening the phones. If you're looking for a great shop to start a relationship with, you can always find one at bumpertobumperradio.com. That's bumper2 bumperradio.com. While you're there, there's a Facebook link. You can be sure to like us on Facebook. Click on that. You can see our scores from the EcoBoost Challenge from yesterday, and be sure to head out there and see if you can beat Matt. We'll see you next week.